The Indianapolis Colts finished 8-8 for the second straight year last year and missed out of the playoffs 2 years in a row for the first time since 98 and 97. I want to say the year before they drafted Manning and the year they drafted Manning. But just looking at last year's Colts roster, it's really kind of surprising that Andrew Luck was able to get them to 8-8. The Colts were just a bad team, and you can't really blame the players, really. I mean, it's really hard to be a good team when your GM constantly misses on drafts. Drafting players like Bjorn Warner, Philip Dorsett, and then trading a first round pick for Trent Richardson, and then he goes on and picks up old men from free agency like Frank Gore, Andre Johnson, and Trent Cole. And to make things worse, the Colts have a coach who just does not know how to develop talent. Like, seriously, who has Chuck Pagano developed? Andrew Luck? Well, he was good when he was drafted, so. I mean, maybe T.Y. Hilton? Jack Newport, perhaps? Yeah, the guy is absolutely terrible. Honestly, he should have gotten canned along with Grigson, and that's where we'll start today. Jim Irsay finally wised up and fired Grigson. The Colts got themselves a new GM, and this past free agency he picked up Kamar Aiken, John Simon, Jabal Sheard, and Jonathan Hankins. So, yeah, it looks like the Colts moved on from signing old men, but they started signing backups. So, I guess it's a step in the right direction. Then they had themselves a pretty solid first 2 rounds in the draft. They picked up Malik Hooker and Quincy Wilson. Many people pegged Hooker as a one-year wonder, but I think if Chuck Pagano is gone soon, Hooker can develop into a good starting safety. And Wilson is also a solid pickup. He can develop into a legitimate starting corner, but I really wouldn't worry about Wilson just yet. Cornerbacks take a while to develop and, get used to the NFL. Of course, there are some exceptions like Jalen Ramsey last year, but Quincy Wilson is not Jalen Ramsey. Let's just get that out of the way. Overall, the Colts roster, I would say, is still a terrible mess. I mean, yeah, they got Andrew Luck, but who the fuck is their running back? I mean, do they seriously expect Frank Gore to get 1,000 yards again? What about receivers? Like, besides T.Y., Moncrief isn't really good. Philip Dorsett's going to be out of the league in a couple of years. Maybe Aiken can do some good for them. Jack Doyle is pretty decent. He's not a bad player. Their offensive line remains terrible. Look at Costanzo. He's extremely inconsistent, and he's not a very good pass blocker. He should really be a right tackle, honestly, but if they move him to right tackle, then who the fuck's their left tackle to protect the blind side? And then Andrew Luck would really be screwed. Now, Jack Newport is really the only player that they can for sure say is a solid starting offensive lineman. They got rookie center Ryan Kelly from last year, who could be a good player going into his second year, but, again, nothing's guaranteed. Their whole right side of the line is a mess. I mean, their right side of the line is worse than ours was last year, and that's really saying something. Now, when we move over to defense, who the fuck is on the D-line? Hankins? Alright, pretty decent. But who else? I mean, Henry Anderson? Like, God, that D-line is terrible. Now for the linebackers. The outside linebacker spots, they got John Simon and Jabal Sheard. I mean, Sheard isn't too bad, but the guy isn't a full-time starter. He's a rotational guy. That's what the Patriots were using him for. And John Simon isn't a good player, but he's also not bad, Let's just say he's average, And when we move over to the middle linebackers, they don't got middle linebackers. They got no one there. Like, seriously. Like, teams are going to be able to run right down the middle on these guys. Then we move over to the secondary. We see, again, the extremely inconsistent Vontae Davis, the rookie Quincy Wilson, the lack of a nickel corner, rookie Malik Hooker, and the lack of a safety opposite Hooker. Man, that is a complete recipe for disaster. Teams are going to continue to have a field day on the Colts next season. But overall, I don't think the Colts got worse. But I also don't think they got better. Next season, the Colts are around a 6-10 team at probably their very best. They will be at the bottom of the AFC South. The Texans, the Titans, the Jaguars all clearly got better, while the Colts were just standing there, just pretty much replacing players they already lost, like Robert Mathis, Eric Walden, Trent Cole, Mike Adams. Trent Cole really didn't do much, if we're being honest. Mathis has been the heart and soul of your defense for a while now. Walden last year got 11 sacks and was their most productive player on the defense. Nobody next season on the Colts will get double-digit sacks. I mean, seriously, who's going to get them? No one. They're not going to have a guy on that defensive front that's going to match the production of Eric Walden. It's just not going to happen. Adams, their safety, was honestly their most consistent DB last season. So they literally replaced last year's production, maybe even downgraded it a bit. Especially when you consider that they lost one of their top 3 players to Barstool Sports. Like, come on. Your punter, arguably your best football player, left your team for Barstool Sports. Now, what does that really say about your team? Like, come on, man. It must mean your team isn't very good. And then you put into consideration Andrew Luck's lingering shoulder injury. Man, the Colts are a complete mess. With that being said, guys, that will be all for today. Make sure to comment down below what you think about the Colts, and make sure to like and subscribe for more Texans related content, because it isn't really about the Texans, but it's Texans related, because we're talking about one of their divisional rivals. That being said, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.